Peppermill Reno for the 268th vlog on this particular YouTube channel. We now live in a world without the greatest of all time, Willie Mays. It's a less cool world, given that reality. I'll mention the time I got to meet him coming up at the end of the vlog. I'll mention right now that it's been a brutal stretch for me of poker here the last couple of weeks, and I fully intend to reverse that trend here today. Vlog 268 comes your way from a place that you can go from Monument Valley to Rio de Janeiro in the blink of an eye. I intend to go to both places in the next 2 years, by the way. A place where this man won a $4,000 bomb pot, and a place where you can now find a mixed game spread on Mondays. I can't play in it due to childcare, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of intrigued by it, and as you can see, there's a lengthy list. I'd get into the game at 11 a.m. and would actually find a better lineup than I was expecting, with 2 grinders I was hoping to avoid not showing up, though there was still a shark in the game. Mr. Z was in the game and Mr. W was first up, and as is preferable, I put the tightest player in the game right on my left. Bomb pots are on, and there is nothing I can do about it, and after check folding the first one I played, I was cruising in the second. I'd flop a pair on both boards and would actually try leading out with it, but would simply bet fold when I got raised big by an unknown grinder. I'd then raise ace-king to 60 over 3 limps and get called by Mr. Z en route to hitting an ace, but unfortunately wouldn't get any further action. The first real hand of note comes when we'd get a pair of limps and I am in the rock in the cutoff with 6s. I decide to take the aggressive route, making it 60. MP1 and the low jack both limp call. So with 185 in, we're 3 ways to a flop that comes out queen 6-4 2 clubs, giving me middle set. Check to me and I toss in a black chip. MP1 is a guy who I play with a lot, but I still find him pretty unpredictable. He makes the call here. And the low jack, who is short stacked, jams all in for $300. Now, I'm just going to be honest here. I feel like I always do the wrong thing in these spots. If you're being results-oriented, I made the wrong decision here as well, by not just calling. MP1 had about 600 behind, and rather than simply try to slow play this, I decided to charge him the full amount, should he desire to continue on here. He gives this a little more thought than I would have guessed he would, and finally decides to fold. So I am heads up in an all-in situation, so you know what to do in that spot. Jam the like button to help my chances, because as things have been going for me lately, I'm definitely gonna need it. I was hoping, naturally, that I was up against a big queen or something like that in this spot. But I'm up against the last thing I really want to be up against. 9-10 of clubs. So I need to fade his outs. The turn is a 7, which is not ideal as he picks up a little more equity. But the river is an offsuit 5, so something that I haven't been able to say very often this month occurs. And that's my set holding up. The guy who folded claimed to have had pocket 5s and would have rivered another set, which would have been nice. I would then witness Bugsy doubling up and get a Kayla update.
Hey guys, Kayla here, out of her corner. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you so much for the well wishes and the support. It was more than I could have ever asked for, and I really appreciated the opportunity to really take time to heal my body both inside and out. Looking forward to seeing you guys again soon.
I did play a hand in which +1 would limp, and I have pocket 7s and make it 45. Folds back around to him, and he tanks and tanks, and finally ships all in for 250. I feel that 7s are going to be the best hand here a lot of the time against this opponent, though obviously they're rarely going to be way ahead. Still, I go ahead and call. So we have a $500 pot. A couple of aces come out there, which neither of us liked, but it wouldn't matter, as come to find out he had simply limped in with jacks, and I give him the full double of his short stack in a hand that is not going to go on my highlight reel. The next one is more interesting. It comes when we get a couple of limps, and I'm in the cutoff with the rock, and I look down at King Jack of diamonds. I make it 50 more here. My only color is the guy in middle position 1. So, with 120 in, the board comes out ace, 8-9 rainbow, with 1 diamond, and he checks. I just check this one back here and maybe get the best turn card in the deck, the 10 of diamonds. He checks again, and this time I bet 75. He gives us some thought before finally making the call. Now with 270 in, the river is a beautiful ace of diamonds, pairing the board, but giving me the flush. He checks, and I bet relatively big, making it 175 here. This hand is an example of why it's usually, this month not really withstanding, good to be me. Because I get paid off in spots that others don't, even if I don't bluff as much as some think. He calls me with pocket 4s in this spot, and a $620 pot gets shipped over to me. This is a mid-session update, and I want you all to know that I am absolutely not skipping a bomb pot right now because of who's dealing it. There's absolutely no way I would do that. I would never do a thing like that. And I just want you to know it. And that's the end of the update. There was then a discussion about a viral video that I had to pull up in which someone jumped onto a craps table at Silver Legacy, which is in downtown Reno, and started throwing chips into the air. By the way, that looked way better when Sharon Stone was doing it. Anyway, I don't know the punishment that person got, but they do not take kindly to crimes like that in the state of Nevada. I can tell you that much. I then witnessed Bugsy making quads in a bomb pot, with Mr. Z making a set of deuces on the other board. Bugsy actually could have scooped if he had an open-ender on that top run out. We then get a hand where Under the Gun limps, and it folds to me in the hijack with kings. I make it 40. Mr. Z makes the call on the button, and the limper, kind of a wild card in this game, completes. So with 120 in, the board comes out 10, deuce 3, 2 clubs, and it gets checked to me. I bet 80 here. Mr. Z folds immediately, but Under the Gun isn't going anywhere. So with 280 in, the turn is an offsuit 9. He checks it to me again. Still feel I have a pretty obvious bet here. I make it 150. He then starts thinking about it, before ultimately stacking up a bunch of chips and sliding in 550. Now, I haven't played a ton of hands over the last few hours. He really should know that I have a big hand here, if he's paying any attention. It certainly felt like he would be limping in a lot of the time with deuces or 3s under the gun. And he might play 9-10 in this exact way. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he could be slow playing pocket aces as well. So when you're looking at the hands that I'm worried about here, those are them. Now obviously he could be bluffing with just some sort of weird draw. I just didn't think that he'd be overplaying a hand in this spot that I could beat. And it's pretty clear that if I'm putting in 550 on the turn, the river bet is going to be massive. And it's really not a spot that I love getting into with simply one pair, and not even the nut one pair. So, in a move that a lot of you are not going to like, but I think you can probably understand, I decide to fold the kings. Was not really able to get a read despite my efforts on what he had, and I'd move on. We then get 3 open seats. This is what I call the 3 o'clock scramble at Peppermill. A lot of guys just get tired of playing, a lot of guys just want to book their wins, and a lot of guys actually have somewhere to be. But it always seems to happen when a second game starts at 1 o'clock, we have 2 full tables. By 3 o'clock, we have 2 short-headed games. It is a fixture in this poker room. But after an hour, we finally get Mr. W making a debut in the game. And actually, the first hand he plays crushes 2 of us. I actually made a flush with pocket 8s. Not feeling all that great about it being the best hand. Another player made a similar flush, with W making the absolute nuts with pocket kings on a 4-heart runout. What can I say? The guy's a beast, but unfortunately, he would not stay long either. I'd already made up my mind that I was playing an 8-hour session. partially due to the fact that I'm meeting some friends at 7 o'clock for an outing that you will later bear witness to a little of. But unfortunately for me, in what can only be described as kind of the way things have been going in the month of June, I didn't win a single hand over the next 3 hours, but I lost a lot of small pots. I would then lose 185 more when I made the mistake of calling a limp raise of an OMC with ace-queen and not hitting anything. I would lose another small pot, and another small pot, and you get the idea. It was a miserable stretch of poker. And then a woman sits down and raises to 35 in the hijack. I have ace-jack of clubs on the button and make the call, as does one other. So with 105 in, the board comes out ace, 5-deuce, rainbow, giving me top pair. She bets 75 here. With my backdoor club draw, I'm certainly not going anywhere with top pair. Big blind goes out, and with 255 in, the turn doesn't help me. But interestingly, she now checks. Now, I know this woman pretty well, and she could definitely still be checking ace-queen or ace-king in this spot. So I check it back, planning on calling a small river bet, and in all honesty, probably folding to a big one. The card that comes out pairs the board, and I was surprised to find out that she would check again. So the thin value bettor in me simply cannot be contained here. I put in $105, less than half the pot. She calls quickly, which is a terrible sign, because she is a notorious tanker. If she's calling quickly, it means I'm fucked. And sure enough, I am, as she tables ace-king. And she takes down a $465 pot, but my reputation of being the Reno poker player who value owns himself more than any other remains firmly intact. So the day was already taking a turn for the worse, and after I stopped rolling video, it would only get worse from there. I would flop the nut flush draw with ace-jack of hearts and would call the turn raise before ultimately bricking the river and losing a $900 pot to what was definitely a nutted hand. The rule of thumb has been, in the month of June for me, and I believe that the Nevada revised statutes will reflect this. Legally, I am allowed to win pots, but I'm not allowed to beat anyone who holds a halfway decent hand. Meaning, if someone decides to bluff catch me with pocket fours or call all in on a draw, so be it. But I am not legally allowed to cooler anyone this month. And as you can see, the month has been brutal, and this day just added on to it, booking another loss. All right, it was a day that had the makings of one that looked really good. Thought I was going to snap this losing streak. Still managed to get out of here, losing $603. Critical hand there that I didn't show at the end and get video of. Nut flush draw up against almost certainly a set. Bricked out, lost a big one there. Not sure I've ever been quite so disgusted. I'm sure I have. Doesn't feel like I've ever been quite so disgusted as a poker player. Just booking a win feels like an impossibility right now. So probably gonna take some time off. Not sure if I'll do a vlog next week. But eventually I'm sure I'll do another one. All right, look at this.
We're doing
When we roll with this guy, this is how we roll.
only in Tropoia.
Hey, can you change the lights for us? Make it more dancing.
Marco from Tropoia became a vlog legend. I felt like a year and a half ago when I met him in Vegas, and there's just some random dude that's just kind of hanging out next to Marco. I think Marco knows him, and I'm complaining. He walks over to me at the Aria Poker. I'm complaining I'm running bad. I need a horseshoe. And I asked Marco if he knows where I can find one, and he points to this random guy, and he says, yeah, it's up his ass.
And then we figured out that no one knew the fucking guy.
I thought he was with you.
No, I thought he was with you.
You thought he was with me. Turns out he was just some random fucking guy. Oh, that was a fun experience. Marco from Tropoia, as he's known, a little bit of a high roller in the actual casino as well. So he gets the limo access whenever he desires. So I had an Italian restaurant across town I said we had to go check out. So that was that. By the way, if you're wondering, it was the local legend, Mr. Z, that decided that Marco's nickname was going to be Marco from Trupoja because he's a big fan of the movie Taken.
Marco from Trupoja.
And, you know, Serbia, Albania, it's close enough in his mind, I guess. So I don't know. But it's just become kind of an ongoing joke that I, for one, find funny. So Willie Mays, it was pretty amazing. It was the summer of 2004. I was actually working as a pizza delivery guy at Domino's, which is the way I paid my way through all of college with absolutely no debt. And my dad was working in VIP services at the Reno Hilton at the time, which is now the Grand Sierra Resort. And he managed to secure Willie Mays to come in and do a meet and greet with high rollers. And he's telling me that I got to get there to come check this thing out as well. So I walk in to the most well-known room at the Grand Sierra Resort. The last time I was in it, I saw this. So I walk up onto the stage at the GSR Theater, and there's a bunch of round tables at it, and I had the ability to sit with my dad, 5 other guys, and Willie Mays at this table for this actual dinner. I got in there like 2 minutes in time coming off my shift at Domino's to make it into this thing. And we were able to get a picture after my dad and me and Willie. I always liked the way that Willie, like his utmost loyalty to that particular Giants hat. And I never understood why. And I came up with the theory that it's because he never wanted to wear the hat with the SF on it because he played for the Giants in New York and San Francisco and liked the one that just had the G on front. So it represents both sections of his career, a career that I really want to know how many home runs he would have hit had he not been forced to miss most of the 1952 and all of the 1953 seasons due to the Korean War. I want to know how many home runs he would have hit. Damn it. Because Willie Mays was the greatest baseball player of all time, if you ask me. And I did have the chance to meet him that one day, and that was absolutely epic. I remember I walked across the casino on my way out of there like an hour later after taking that picture, and it was just Willie and a bodyguard of his just kind of hanging out there, just playing a slot machine right in the front of the GSR by himself, no one else around. I just walked right by it and noticed it. It was almost like no one else was even noticing that Willie Mays was just chilling in this casino at that moment. So I always enjoyed that moment as well. Anyway, obviously a very tough stretch of poker for me. Got to turn that around, and I'll try and do it next time.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the fucking hours it takes to get some power. Don't be fucking sour, take a cold shower, scream until you're louder, work until